Okay, so what we're looking at here is basically some of the directed graphs stuff. And we're looking at critical paths, the starting part of critical paths. We're looking at precedence tables and the activity networks. That leads into eventually where we look at critical paths. That'll be in a separate video. And then following on from that from crashing, which is part of that critical path where you start to do some other things there. But let's just focus on the precedence tables. So precedence table is basically something that looks like this. Now, when you get into some of the critical paths, the activities have a weight. So it could be like might mean 5 hours, 5 minutes, whatever it is. And we'll get to that when we're talking about critical paths themselves. But let's just look at the precedence tables at the moment. So basically what you've got with the precedence table is you've got your activities. Let me just get rid of this part here for a moment. You've got your activities here. So that's just saying activity A, activity B, C, D, a series of activities that you will undertake. Now, what this is saying is activity A and B don't have an immediate predecessor. So there's nothing happening before them in terms of this activity. Okay. C and D have predecessors. So in this case, for example, C has activity A has to finish before activity C can move forward. Same for same for D, sorry. It has activity B as a predecessor. Same for E. And then as you can see, we get to F, it needs C and D, and G needs E and F. So the idea of a predecessor table is to sort of draw it, and sometimes my suggestion is always use a pencil, because you might need to rub these out once or twice. The hard part with this is, I think, is the thinking of it spatially, so how you make the connections. In of itself, it's not hard to follow through what the predecessors are, but sometimes the drawings, you can sort of stuff them up because you haven't thought through clearly what's going on. So for example, A and B, I'm just going to draw like this, and that's A. Remember, put an arrow. Arrow is to signify the fact that it's got a direction to it. So A and B, because it's got no predecessors. So then I go to C, then I can click on C here and go C. So I've got my vertex there, starting there. Put that there. From B, I've got D and E. So for the moment, and this is where I say pencil because I'm not going to draw it, link it up somewhere, but I could link it up here if I wanted to. I could say C to D. Well, I might say D like that, but I'm not always going to draw that because, you know, it's not always as simple as that. You might have to make a link later on, but for the moment, let's go with that. And the reason I'm linking that up is saying activity F needs C and D to have been finished first. So this point here means, let's highlight it, this point here means that C and D have finished their activity and now F can go on. All right. What we've also got here to worry about, or not worry about, to consider, is that E comes off B. So E is going to come off here as well. Okay. But the question is, where does it come off? Well, where does it meet up? Well, what we can see is E and F here are predecessors for G. So remember, coming off the C and D was F. Oops, sorry. That would be even worse. You're going to go like that. That would be E. I'm going to get F coming off like this. That's my point. Very bad drawing. That's going to be F. Okay. Oh, hang on. I got those running the wrong way. Sorry about that. That's F there. That is F there. This will be, sorry, that's F. This is E. And coming off here will be activity G. Okay? And you're following that predecessor sort of link down as you go down. And as in this example here, you can see that my drawing is not nowhere near as neat as this one, but it's still got the same example. You can see this is just a summary of what I've talked about, okay? It's a nice summary to use to think through. You can see here's another example, activity A. So in this case, I've only got one activity where it's starting. So I need to finish activity A before I can do anything else. Okay, activity, and have a think at the end. And you sometimes need to look at the end and say, what do I finish at? I finish at activity H. I need E, F, and G matching up to the H there. As you can see in their example, they're actually working backwards, which I've actually never really done before. Always go from left to right. That might be a way to process it as well. So if I'm looking at A, then that means I've got, from there, I've got from A, as I can see here, I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got B, C, and D coming off. Okay. Seeing if, yeah, it does very similar. And so I've got my point here, my start. I'm going to have my point there, point here, point here. Now, from E, so activity E needs B. So I'm going to put E here. And just be prepared for the eraser to come out. F needs to come off C. So it needs to come off. Now, here is where I'm slightly hesitating, because you need to have a connection between where the E, so at the end, EFG comes off here. So basically what's going to happen is I can go there and there. What's the bet? So G comes off D, F comes off C, and from that point on, I have H. And there I'm at the finish here. Now, do the two drawings look exactly the same? No, they don't. Here's a finished product there. Here's my one there. They don't look exactly the same, but they do. All the connections are correct. Okay, so that's how you need to start to look at it in that sense. So what I'm going to do in this one, I'm going to stop here. And I'm going to do another video looking at dummy activities, which is a follow-on from this. I just don't want this one to be super long, so I'll keep it nice and short and sharp, relatively short and sharp, but 8 minutes or so, and we'll see you in the next video.